Today, the Matt Walsh Show, a black man in Portland stabbed a white man and tried to kill him. A jury just acquitted the assailant because the white man said the N-word after the attack. We're at the point now where black people can literally stab you for saying a word that hurts their feelings, and they'll suffer no legal consequences, which is a much bigger story than a random Cinnabon employee saying racial slurs. We'll talk about all that today. Also, Democrats in Congress continue to claim that Trump is guilty of war crimes for blowing up narcoterrorists. Sweeney proves that she's not quite as based as conservatives wanted to believe. And Trump has finally said something that outrages and offends even me, deeply so. We'll talk about all that and more today on The Matt Walsh Show. Food court Cinnabon in a tiny Wisconsin village near Green Bay is not the kind of place you'd expect to attract international media attention from the likes of the Washington Post, the Independent, ABC News. There's a reason the protagonist of Better Call Saul worked in a Cinnabon. It's about as nondescript and unremarkable a job as you can imagine. Plus, you're serving desserts all day, which normally means the clientele is pretty happy, relatively speaking, if also morbidly obese. You're serving dessert dishes that contain enough calories to feed a football team for a week, but which are instead consumed by a single person in a single sitting, which means that your customers go from happy as they anticipate consuming the treat to catatonic and comatose after having gorged themselves like raccoons in a dumpster. Overall, it's a low stakes, low energy, pretty chill environment. That's the point, where everybody comes and gives themselves heart disease in an orderly and peaceful manner. So if you work there, you serve the Cinnabons, you collect your measly paycheck, and you go home. You're not bothering anyone else. No one's bothering you. That's the expected arrangement. But over the weekend, all of our assumptions about Cinnabon were suddenly turned on their head. Turns out that, according to every major news outlet in the country and across the world, Cinnabon is actually ground zero for extreme, unhinged, undiluted white supremacy. Random Cinnabon locations inside generic mall food courts in the middle of nowhere are, in fact, unmistakable evidence that white supremacists are the greatest threat facing our country, just like Joe Biden always told us. And Exhibit A, as you may have seen, is this video. It begins, as all of these videos do, in the middle of the action. You have no context, no idea what happened beforehand. This is all you get. This is the footage that by now has been viewed tens of millions of times. We'll have to bleep a lot of it out, but here's the gist.
I am racist.
So idiot, for
And
real. You are an idiot. No,
I
I'm
am
not.
racist, and I'll say that to the whole entire world. Don't be disrespectful.
You ruined your life, by the way.
Oh,
Bye.
you talk about respect? You talking about respect? You are fired from this place. You're not gonna be working here.
Suck it.
Suck what? Look how you what?
What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with you, you ugly?
Ugly? Talking about ugliness?
Did I stutter?
Now, it's censored in that footage, but the Cinnabon worker drops an N-bomb. She says the word, the magical word, the word that has mystical powers, like an ancient incantation that you read out of an old book you find in the attic, accidentally summoning a demonic beast from the netherworld. She has a couple of other mean things, too, she says, and clearly understands that she's being recorded and, that she's going to be fired for this. Doesn't care in the slightest, it seems. In fact, she maybe seems thrilled at the idea that she may never have to work in a Cinnabon ever again. And indeed, on the basis of this footage, there was a predictable outrage cycle. Cinnabon's corporate headquarters announced that the woman, whose name is apparently Crystal, has been fired. Tens of thousands of people claimed that the footage was proof that white supremacy is alive and well. And in turn, as we saw with Shiloh Hendricks, a Give, Send, Go fundraiser was established to support Crystal. Many people who are tired of these dumb stories and cancellations in general chipped in. And as of now, it's raised nearly $100,000 and counting. So already in about 48 hours, she's earned a lot more than she would have made in several years working at Cinnabon. Then as the outrage cycle continued, additional footage emerged. showing 10 seconds from before the viral footage. And this is still out of context, but it gives you a little more context. And here's what that showed.
Sexualizing your body makes you a better person.
Are you recording?
I'm gonna record you. Yes.
Do you want me to throw water on you?
Now, as best I can tell from piecing together various accounts, the allegation here is that a couple of Somalis ordered a Cinnabon, and they weren't happy with the amount of caramel on their cinnamon roll. Because people from third world countries where everybody is starving, they come here and immediately start complaining that their cinnamon rolls don't have enough caramel. Okay, that's what we're dealing with. And in response, according to the Somalis, this is their version of the story, to be clear, the Cinnabon employee allegedly made fun of the woman's hijab, saying something to the effect of, you could see me squeezing it through the witchcraft bandana you're wearing on top of your head. And it's not funny. I mean, it sort of is. And then in response, the Somalis allegedly mocked the Cinnabon employee for not wearing a hijab, which is what you just heard in that last clip. And so that's their version. The other version of the story circulating online is that the Somalis harangued the woman unprovoked for not wearing the hijab. What actually happened prior to the viral clip, I have no idea. And neither does anyone else commenting on the story. No clue. And now with all this footage appearing online, you've got your predictable camps forming. On the right, there are some who are lionizing this woman. After all, her salary has almost certainly been taxed and funneled to various Somali scams and Islamic terror groups at one point or another. So a few bad words isn't exactly a big deal in comparison. And meanwhile, on the left, they're trying to turn these Somalis into the next George and Georgette Floyd because, they didn't get enough caramel on their dessert and then had to endure some naughty words. And everybody's drawing these battle lines based on a narrative that makes no sense, no matter how you look at it. I mean, we're supposed to believe that the Cinnabon lady made fun of the woman and dropped an N-bomb because they politely asked for more caramel. We're supposed to believe that all they did was come and say, oh, can I get a little more caramel? And she said, oh, you and your witchcraft bandana. Really? They didn't do anything else to provoke her? Really? They didn't try to bait her and trap her and then start recording mid-confrontation, which happens constantly in scenarios just like this one? Now, to be clear, I don't know. And also, I don't see the Cinnabon lady as any kind of hero or role model. I also think that Cinnabon basically had no choice but to fire her. I mean, if you're caught on camera in uniform on the job, cussing out a customer, it doesn't matter what words you use. If you're cussing out a customer, using any vulgarity, you're going to lose your job. No employer can take the position that cussing out customers is okay as long as the customer started it. That is not codified into any employee handbook that I've ever seen. Now, for what it's worth, some reporters, but of course, on the other hand, that does not justify the ridiculous national and global outrage or efforts to ruin this woman's life. This is just what this is? This is a very local employment matter at the Cinnabon in Wisconsin. Cinnabon in Wisconsin. That's what this is. This is not a national story. Now, for what it's worth, some reporters, including reporters at the Daily Wire, have been diving into this woman's voting history. And apparently this woman is a Democrat who voted for Kamala Harris and bragged on social media about getting the COVID shot. And because her behavior in this footage is so over the top, almost like a caricature of how a, quote, racist MAGA Republican would act, that, it raises the possibility that this is an elaborate stunt. Or even yet another Somali scam of some kind, a real long con where she's in on it with the goal of raising a lot of money on Give, Send, Go. I don't know. I'm not necessarily saying that's the case. But the whole thing is weird. Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's just strange. And then the fact that this woman voted for Kamala Harris and is talking like this, a little weird. But here's the thing. It's not necessary to resolve any of these questions. Like, it doesn't really matter. The bigger story, which is indeed very important, is the meta question of why this Cinnabon episode is national news in the first place. It's the same reason Shiloh Hendricks was in the news a few months ago. major news outlets aren't interested in the fact that a minimum wage fast food employee had a verbal spat with customers who were almost certainly provoking her. Nobody cares about that. I mean, that's the kind of thing that happens a million times a day. It's only a story because of the magical power that we have imbued on one specific racial slur. And when I say magical power, I'm not just talking about how if you say the so-called N-word, you'll get fired from your job, demonetized on YouTube, cast out from polite society. We all know about that. I'm also talking about the fact, which is now proven beyond any doubt, that if you say this magical word, then your life is forfeit. You lose your constitutional rights. Your civil liberties are meaningless. Black people have the de facto legal authority to murder you if you say that particular naughty word in front of them. And if you think I'm exaggerating, well, a jury verdict in Portland has just made that clear. So here's the background. This is from a local Fox station in Portland reporting on a stabbing back in July of this year. Watch.
Now know the name of the person arrested for a stabbing in downtown Portland that injured a person. Today, police announced that 42-year-old Gary Omar Edwards was arrested on assault charges. It stems from a stabbing that happened on Northwest 5th Street just after 9:30 yesterday morning. Police say a person was stabbed in the shoulder area and went to the hospital with serious injuries. Edwards was arrested by the Central Bike Squad. There's no word on the stabbing victim's condition.
Now, at the time, it seemed like a pretty open and shut case. A black man named Gary Edwards, who had previous convictions for attempted second-degree assault and who had been sentenced to 3 years in prison for another stabbing on the public transit system, had seriously injured yet another unarmed individual named Gregory Howard, who was sitting on a bench. And in a rare case of Portland police actually doing something, Gary Edwards was quickly arrested and charged with second-degree assault, as he should have been. But just 5 months later, Gary Edwards has been acquitted for stabbing and nearly killing a white guy in broad daylight. He will not face any punishment at all. And that's not because there's any dispute about whether Edwards had stabbed the victim. He admitted it. I mean, it's on camera. He definitely did it. What happened is that the victim, after the attack, was captured on police body camera saying the N-word. And based on that fact alone, the fact that the victim uttered the unmentionable word, Gary Edwards was let off the hook. This is reporting from the Oregonian, quote, an Old Town stabbing case ended in defeat for Multnomah County prosecutors once jurors learned the wounded man had been videoed uttering a racist slur in the struggle's aftermath. Transit's cameras show Edwards, a fixed-blade knife clasped at his side, approaching Howard from behind as he sat on a bench. The video has no sound, but Howard springs up and pushes Edwards as soon as he sees him. The duo scuffle against a wall for a brief moment, ending with Edwards stabbing Howard in the shoulder. Defense attorney Daniel Small said the most relevant evidence was recorded later when security officers heard the wounded man shouting the racist slur and captured it on their body cameras as he described the incident. Edwards is black, Howard is white. Both are alike in other respects. Each is 43 years old. The defense attorney said Edwards was simply approaching Howard and offering a polite trade, his knife for some cigarettes. What other than racism could explain why Mr. Howard perceived hatred, animosity, and aggression from a complete stranger? The defense attorney asked the jury on October 30th. What could make him perceive it as aggression? Oh, I don't know. Well, maybe it was the fact that Gary Edwards approached the victim from behind with a knife out. Maybe when you're sitting on a bench and someone sneaks up from behind you holding a knife, you might perceive that they're a threat to you. Maybe that's why the victim perceived aggression and immediately pushed Edwards away. Maybe he didn't want to get randomly stabbed just like the other person that Edwards stabbed on the public transit system. Maybe he didn't buy the idea that the guy wanted to trade his knife, which is complete nonsense. Oh, he wanted to make a trade, really? But when you're a defense attorney for a psychotic, violent vagrant, this is the kind of defense you have to launch. You have to sincerely claim that your guy, with a history of stabbing people, crept up behind somebody with a knife out because he wanted to engage in some old-fashioned bartering, like they're at a trading outpost on the frontier in 1843. Now, given the facts of this case, there is no doubt whatsoever that Gary Edwards was acquitted because his victim was white and because his white victim used a racial slur after the fact. If the victim had been black and used this particular word either before or after the fact, nobody would have batted an eye. But because the victim was white, he had it coming. I mean, what the Portland jury said is that, well, he deserved to get stabbed because he said a word. That's what they said. That was actually their verdict. In the eyes of a Portland jury, if you're white, the use of an anti-black slur means that you deserve to get stabbed. You deserve to die. Even if you use the slur after you're attacked. That to use a racial slur after you get stabbed retroactively justifies getting stabbed. That is a jury verdict that happened in this country. Of course, in a free country, you should be able to use racial slurs anytime you want without fear that you'll be murdered if you do so. If you use racial slurs or any vulgarity on the job in uniform, you might lose your job. Okay, that's not a law. That's just your employers are also free to make determinations. But there shouldn't be any word that you're just simply not allowed to say. There's no combination of syllables that you should be banned from uttering. There are no syllables that should justify violence against you. Now, I've seen a lot of commentators emphasizing the fact that Howard only used the slur after the attack, which is obviously very important to mention because it highlights how depraved this whole thing is. But we should also make it clear that if Howard had been calling this guy a slur before the attack, that should not matter either. Okay, even if he pushed him and called him a bad word before he was stabbed, that also does not even come close. It doesn't move us an inch towards justifying the stabbing. Bad words do not justify violence, period. If somebody's approaching you from behind with a knife in his hand or with nothing in his hands at all, you can call him whatever mean name you can think of. That obviously doesn't give him a license to try to kill you. Racial slurs are bad. Vulgarity is bad. I don't think people should be using vulgarity in public. I'll say N-word instead of the actual word for the same reason I'll say F-word or C-word. You know, if I'm reading a quote from someone, I'll say F-word. See, it's a little silly. It's a little arbitrary. I mean, even by referencing the first letter in the word, you're still conveying the word, right? So you're still sort of communicating it. So you could argue that you might as well just say it. But I also believe in following certain rules of decorum. Not legal rules. These are not legal rules or should not be. They're just standards of behavior. But those standards should apply to all vulgarity, not just one particular vulgarity. And obviously, you can disapprove of vulgarity without saying that somebody should die or go to prison because they use them. And indeed, if you can't do that, then you're not living in America anymore. You're living in a country more like Somalia. Shiloh Hendricks knows that very well. Her trial date has been set and already said, and after she used the forbidden word in a playground in Minnesota. And in case you don't remember that story, a Somali child stole her property. So there's constantly Somalis getting mixed up in this kind of thing. That's interesting. It's almost like the Somalis are coming here, causing a lot of trouble, antagonizing the actual native citizens of this country, and it's also almost like everyone's just fed up with them. We're sensing a lot of that. People are just fed up with it. People are looking at these third world scam artists that come to this country and they're just pissed off. They're fed up with it. They're tired of it. And that's what's coming across. But anyway, a Somali man with a disturbing criminal record began harassing her, and she finally snapped. She was clearly tired that Somalis had taken over her community. She was tired that they were trying to provoke her. And faced with this provocation, she made her disapproval very, very clear. In this case, she wasn't on the job or wearing a uniform. She was just at the playground with her kid in her personal life. But in Little Mogadishu, white people are not allowed to demonstrate their disapproval for Somalis anymore, whether they're using offensive language or not. And that's why local authorities are currently trying to put Shiloh Hendricks in prison. In August of next year, she'll go on trial for several counts of disorderly conduct, even though she didn't cause any kind of public disturbance at all. I mean, if you saw the video, you know that. She barely even raised her voice. This was a quick interaction. If you had been on the playground, on the other side of the playground, you would probably not even notice it. She was directing her frustration at the man who was filming her and berating her after her property was stolen. But because she used a bad word and failed to show proper deference to the invaders who have destroyed Minnesota, she's probably going to go to prison. This is the state of the First Amendment in a country that's imported an awful lot of people who don't have a First Amendment in their countries. That's the state of free speech in a country where immigration authorities are constantly being hounded, harassed, even shot at, from California to Minnesota to Chicago to New Orleans to New York, simply for doing their job and enforcing the border and deporting illegal aliens who have no right to live in this country. Put simply, without immigration enforcement, we don't have a First Amendment. And at the same time, this isn't simply a question of illegal migration. The problem goes a lot deeper than that. A black guy in Texas was awarded over $500,000 in donations, as you remember, for stabbing a white kid named Austin Metcalf to death. And as they donated the money, thousands of black people left comments celebrating, in effect, the death of another evil white kid who didn't do anything wrong. He was just stabbed to death. And that happened just a few months ago. So in America, here's the reality. Black people are given hundreds of thousands of dollars and a literal get-out-of-jail-free card if they hear a word that hurts their feelings. Or even if they don't. Austin Metcalf didn't use the magic word. Now, before any major news outlet says another word about a random lady working at a Cinnabon, it'd be interesting to see them answer this question. Why was Carmelo Anthony allowed to receive his diploma? He killed an unarmed white kid and then lied to police about stashing his knife in the bleachers. It seems like the kind of thing that should disqualify you from graduating. I don't know. And while we're at it, what evidence was there that Derek Chauvin actually killed George Floyd? Even the jury told CNN they didn't actually think Chauvin killed Floyd. They convicted Chauvin because, in their view, he didn't demonstrate enough compassion to a man who was clearly overdosing of his own accord. And while we're at it, why were the prosecutors allowed to lie to the jury about the relative amount of fentanyl in Floyd's system by comparing his blood samples to samples from overdose victims that were taken long after their deaths? Until we get serious answers to these questions, don't talk to us about the Cinnabon woman who had a bad day. Okay, she's not a hero or a martyr, but she is the predictable result of decades of anti-white propaganda that has destroyed far too many lives. And like the Cinnabon woman, we are all tired of it. Now let's get to our 5 headlines. This episode is sponsored by Good Ranchers. The moments I'm looking forward to most this holiday season have nothing to do with presents or parties. They're the moments when I'm simply spending time with my family. Those times with all my kids gathered around the table, that's what the holidays are really about. This year, give someone a Good Ranchers gift box and give them a reason to gather around their own table. When you give Good Ranchers, you're not just sending premium 100% American-raised meat. You're giving them a chance to slow down and sit together to share a meal that actually means something. Every box is filled with high-quality beef, chicken, pork, or seafood, all sourced from American farms and delivered right to the door. And gifting is simple. Just pick a box, add a note, schedule delivery. It's that simple. The quality of Good Ranchers meat really stands out. You can taste the difference immediately. Steaks are incredibly flavorful and tender, and everything cooks up beautifully. It's become my go-to for holiday meals when I want restaurant quality results at home or any other time of year. This year, spend less time prepping meals and more time together with the people you love. Visit goodranchers.com and use my code Walsh to get $40 off your first order. Plus, when you subscribe, you get premium cuts like chicken thighs, Wagyu burgers, or bacon in every order for life. That's goodranchers.com, code Walsh for $40 off, plus free meat for life. Goodranchers.com. Let's get back to the table. This Christmas season, you could help change a life. Picture a young woman who just found out she's pregnant and wasn't expecting it. She's scared, maybe doesn't have much support, and isn't sure what her options are. That's exactly who Preborn Ministries is there for. They offer free ultrasounds and counseling to women facing these tough decisions. Sometimes just seeing that ultrasound and talking to someone who cares makes all the difference in the world. When a woman is facing that difficult decision, Preborn is there to help. When a woman sees her baby's ultrasound at Preborn, everything can change. That moment often gives her the courage to choose life. This Christmas, just $28 can sponsor an ultrasound. And right now, your gift is doubled through a matching grant. To donate, dial pound 250 and say baby, or visit preborn.com/Walsh. That's pound 250, keyword baby, or preborn.com/Walsh. All right, hope you had a good weekend. My weekend was interesting. I went skiing for the first time in my life. If you can imagine me skiing. Actually, I didn't go skiing. I took a skiing lesson, if you can imagine that. I've never skied before. I don't know the first thing about skiing. My wife loves to ski. She's been skiing since she was like 3 or something. And we've been married for almost 15 years, and I've never gone skiing with her because I don't know how to do it. I don't know how. In my family growing up, skiing was not in the realm of possibility of things we would ever do. It was just, I had friends who would get back from Christmas vacation and they would say, oh, we went skiing over the vacation. And I would say, oh, so you're a billionaire then. So you're literally a billionaire. Can I borrow $10? You went skiing? Who goes skiing? I don't even know. So I never went. And then I meet my wife who's obsessed with skiing. And for 15 years, she said, oh, you need to learn so we can ski together. We can ski as a couple. We could be a skiing family. And for years, I've resisted. I just wouldn't do it. Because for one thing, skiing is far too elitist for me. It feels very elitist. The whole thing, like going to the ski lodge and putting on the gear and like going up to, I don't know, the whole thing feels very elitist and just not my vibe. And second, to be honest, it's a sport that my wife is going to be better at because she's done it for a long time. I've never done it. So at least initially, she's going to be a lot better at it than me. And I don't know if I can handle that. Like that's really what stopped me from, if I'm being totally honest, that's what stopped me from learning it for so many years is like, I don't want to do a sport that you're going to be better at. You're my wife. That's like handing you a pickle jar to open, okay? I mean, if I had a broken hand and I couldn't open a pickle jar, I'm just not eating pickles. I'm not handing it to my wife. I can't open it. I'm just not going to do it. So it feels a little bit like that. So I never went until now. I don't know. I just decided. I decided to wait until I'm almost 40. And now is when I'll learn. So I went to go take lessons. I needed a private lesson because I got to learn how to do it. I mean, I'm not a guy who takes lessons in anything. I don't like the whole thing is not my vibe, but I got to learn how to do it. I can't just launch myself down the mountain. So at least my wife insisted that I shouldn't learn that way. She made a good point. I should probably learn in a way that's not going to end with me paralyzed. So I took lessons. And it had to be a private lesson because I'm not going to be in a class with a bunch of 7-year-olds. And so I have to keep a shred of my dignity if I can. And my kids are learning also, so they were in a separate class. And we went and, I show up to the mountain in like my snow pants. I tried to go just wearing jeans. And my wife said, you're going to look ridiculous. No one wears jeans skiing. And I said, what am I going to put on, snow pants? You want me? And so I did. And so I'm waddling over there with my snow pants and like my gear, like a dork, holding my skis and the little stick things, whatever they call the ski poles, whatever you call them. And my instructor comes over. Now, fortunately, my instructor is a 60-year-old guy from Switzerland, which is exactly what I wanted. I said, I can't have an instructor who's younger than me. I can't have an instructor who's a woman, no offense, but and it needs to be somebody with like a Scandinavian accent. I know Switzerland's not technically in Scandinavia, but close enough. And so he checked all those boxes, and he comes over, and I got to get my gear on. I'm having trouble getting the gear on because I've never put any of this stuff on. I don't know what, like snow pants and like ski boots. I've never put any. I don't know how to put this stuff on. And so I'm trying to put it on, and I can't get even the helmet buckled, and so my wife has to help me buckle the helmet. I couldn't even get my gloves on. I think at this point I'm getting like nervous because I'm having so much trouble getting the gear on. I know how it looks, And this guy's just staring at me. This guy's been skiing for 58 years, and he's just looking at me. And I couldn't even get the glove on. I put gloves on before, but I couldn't, I don't know, one of the fingers was weird, and I couldn't get it on. And he's just standing there looking at me like, dear Lord, this guy is literally retarded. This is a retarded person. And that's how I looked, because I'm like a toddler. And I get all the gear on. And then this is true too. I get all the gear on. And he said, okay, let's go. And that's when I said, I just got to run to the bathroom real quick. So I'm an actual toddler at this point. This is what my kids do. We're going to go play in the snow. And they get all their gear on. And they say, I got to go pee. And they got to take it all off so they could go. And I did that. I didn't mean to, but now I'm that guy. And to make matters worse, he said, oh, well, because we're standing in front of a building. And he said, well, this is employees only. So you'd have to go all the way up to the lodge, which is way over there. And I guess he knew it would take me forever to get up there. So he said, you know what, fine. He snuck me around the back into the employee building so I could use their bathroom. And I walk in to it's like their break room, and all the employees are there. It's like a needle drop moment, just some guy wandering in. And it occurred to me later that if anyone there knew who I was, it probably looked like a prima donna, I think I'm a celebrity kind of thing, where I'm demanding my own. It's not what it was. This is just me being retarded. That's all it was. And so anyway, then we get out. We go up we don't even go in the mountain. We go to the hill. There's a kiddie hill. And it's a bunch of 8-year-olds learning how to ski, and me. There's a little treadmill. It's like an airport treadmill thing, walkway because they don't let you on the chairlift because you don't know what you're doing. So you have to stand on this moving walkway that takes you up this small hill, and then you practice going down. And that's what I did for 3 hours. It was pretty humiliating. But here's the thing. Once we got into it, I kind of took to it pretty well. It's pretty good. And the instructor told me multiple times, I'm one of the best students he's ever had. And I bragged to my wife about that later. And I realized, again, like a toddler, after the lesson, I went to my wife and said, he said I was the best student he ever had. And he gave me a sticker and a lollipop. Now, I realize he was saying that, 1, to boost my confidence, and 2, because most of his students have been 9. So I get that, but whatever. I'll take the encouragement where I can. And so that's it. So I learned how to ski. That's it. Now I'm ready to just launch myself off a mountain. All right. Senator Tammy Duckworth is one of the dumbest people in the Senate. And here's what she had to say about Trump blowing up narco-terrorists. Listen.
And by the way, the individuals in that boat were not even aimed at the United States. So everything that they've done has been illegal. It's illegal under international law. It's illegal under the Geneva Convention. And it certainly is even illegal under domestic law. It was essentially murder with that double tap strike.
I mean, that's a very strong statement. Murder, does that constitute a war crime? Is that what you're saying?
It is a war crime. It's illegal. How will you put it? It's all illegal.
You have seen the classified video of this particular strike, the first strike, and then the double tap as it's known.
No, I've just seen what's been available in the media.
Okay.
I've read the full report, but I've not seen the actual video. I've requested to be able to see the actual video. I've also been actually asked to see the after action reports from the pilots and the drone operators, as well as the intelligence debrief that all pilots and drone operators conduct after they have completed a mission.
Okay, so she hasn't seen the video, but she's sure that it was a war crime and murder. And this is, again, over that strike on the narco-terrorist boat where they hit it with 2 missiles, which I've said from the very beginning, I don't care if they hit the thing twice. I don't think anyone does. This is one of the fakest I can't even say that. I can't say it's one of the fakest outrage cycles we've had. I mean, they're all fake, so who knows if it's one of the fakest. But it's a very fake outrage cycle. I don't think that anyone really cares. But I think people aren't being honest about it. People are pretending to care about, It's like, and they're using phrases that they've never, it was a double tap strike. So I don't care. I wouldn't care if they hit the boat 5 times. Hit it 10 times. Like, who cares? I would only care about that because you're wasting missiles. So it's a waste of money at that point. But the point is to kill the narco-terrorists. And the idea that we can validly hit them once, but then after that, due to some vague notion of sportsmanship or something, we have to lay off. That idea is just absurd to me. The whole point is to kill them. And as far as international law, who cares about that? International law is fake. It doesn't mean anything. It violates international law. Okay. So? And so what? What does that mean? Now, I know what violating, like if you violate the law in this country, the actual law, I know what that means or what it should mean. Now, if you're a black guy in Portland, it means that nothing happens to you. But generally, what it's supposed to mean is that there's an actual consequence because there's a mechanism to enforce the law. We have law enforcement and we have a court system to adjudicate the cases and then to pass down, to decide if you're guilty and then to pass down a punishment. Nothing like that exists. There's no global court that has jurisdiction over America. So who cares? The whole thing is ridiculous. It also turns out that it was a hoax, of course. In case you missed it, here's a quick update on that.
Tonight, new information. According to a source familiar with the incident, the 2 survivors climbed back onto the boat after the initial strike. They were believed to be potentially in communication with others and salvaging some of the drugs. Because of that, it was determined they were still in the fight and valid targets. A JAG officer was also giving legal advice.
Okay, so they're climbing back onto the boat, salvaging the drugs. So yeah, hit them again. Why not? They're still in the field of play. Whistle hasn't blown yet. They're not sitting on the sidelines, right? Game on. But all this is beside the point, because Tammy Duckworth hasn't even seen the classified video of the strike, and yet she's making these pronouncements. And of course, they're all doing that. Meanwhile, Democrat Representative Seth Moulton took it even a step further than that, and here's what he said.
I mean, look, the President of the United States and his Secretary of Defense are conducting murder on the high seas. They're committing murder, and Americans should care. Like, look, none of us like drug traffickers, but we have laws that say that drug traffickers don't get summarily executed. And if it's happening off the coast of America with people that we don't know, just give it time before Donald Trump starts doing this same kind of thing to people we do know right here at home. It matters if the President of the United States breaks the law.
It's murder. Next, they're going to murder Americans. Oh, you mean like Obama, Seth? You mean like what Obama did? You mean like when Obama actually did drone strikes on American citizens? Let's go check to see what Seth Moulton had to say about that. I'm guessing not much. I'm guessing he had nothing to say about it at all. And this is the point. This is the point I really want to make about this. See, this is why nothing means anything anymore. Okay, this story is a perfect example. It's why nothing means anything. In the political world, nothing means anything. It's what makes it all so demoralizing. It's like, why even talk about any of this? Nothing means, none of these people mean what they're saying. You got a whole bunch of people talking about, constantly about all these different issues, and no one means anything they're saying. So what's the point? It's what makes our political discourse totally hopeless, totally pointless. And nothing means anything. And this is the consequence when you use the most extreme language just as a matter of course. When you throw around accusations so recklessly, when you make the most radical claims so casually, nothing means anything. When you've got senators and and congressmen that are up there saying, the president is murdering Americans, it's a war crime, it's this, it's like, okay, great. I mean, there's only so many times you can say that before it's like it doesn't even have an impact anymore. There was a time, here's the point, there was a time not that long ago when a senator accusing the president of murder and war crimes would have been a big deal. Okay, there was a time when that would be a huge, huge deal, where you have a senator on the record saying the president of the United States is murdering people and is a war criminal. There was a time not that long ago when that's a huge story. That's 3 weeks of a news cycle kind of thing. Because you didn't just make those kinds of claims every day. You didn't say it unless you were very, very sure of it. People were more precise and more cautious in their language and far more dignified in the way that they conducted themselves, generally speaking. I mean, politics has always been a rough and tumble sport. It's always been ruthless and brutal. But even so, you didn't just have people running around saying the most, and now a sitting U.S. senator can say, the president is a murderer, and it just doesn't, it's like, it's nothing. We yawn and shrug it off. It's like, it doesn't mean anything. Because they say this kind of stuff every day. It doesn't mean anything. It's totally meaningless. A senator accusing the president of war crimes is about as significant as a senator ordering a Chipotle bowl for lunch. It's like, it doesn't, just another day at the office. Who cares? Because these people call Trump Hitler a million times a day. They accuse him of plotting a genocidal takeover of the country 50 times before breakfast. And so it doesn't, once you've gone that far, and once that becomes your take on everything, well, number one, we know exactly what you're going to say every single time. So there's no point in even saying it. And number two, you've gone to the most extreme claim on every single time. So it doesn't have any impact at all. And, it's really just a classic boy who cried wolf scenario. So now if the president actually did murder someone, there wouldn't be anyone with any credibility to accuse him of it. If Trump actually did go kill someone with his bare hands, let's say, directly, it wouldn't, anyone coming out and saying, no, the president's a murderer, we would all say, oh yeah, well, you've said that 8 million times. No, this time it's like, he really is a murderer. Oh, really? Okay, yeah, he's also really Hitler. Yeah, okay. And it's not just politicians, it's everyone. It's like using the most extreme and dramatic language all the time for everything means that these words lose their meaning. And there's no point anymore. So the whole debate, and that's the other thing, that there is a intelligent debate to be had about this. I'm fully on board with striking narcoterrorists. I'm fully on board with killing them. I'd like to see us kill a lot more of them. So I'm very firmly on that side of the discussion for sure. But it's like there are things you could talk about. We could talk about, well, where do you draw the line? Where, what's, where do we draw the lines here? We could have that conversation. That could be an interesting conversation. But we can't have it because you've got one side of the conversation where, number one, their take on it is already decided from the first moment. We already know that they have to be opposed to it, and that not only do they have to be opposed to it, but they are going to be opposed to it in the most strident, extreme, dramatic way possible. And when that becomes the dynamic, it's just not possible to have any of the actual substantive debates and conversations that we could otherwise have. This episode is sponsored by Priority Tax Relief. Are you overwhelmed by constantly worrying about your back tax debt? If you owe more than $5,000, then you're officially on the IRS's radar. But you can protect yourself today. Go to PriorityTaxRelief.com/Walsh. Whether you hit a rough patch, fell behind on filing, pulled money from a 401k, or ran into another tax burden, Priority Tax Relief has you covered. Priority Tax Relief is a team of highly qualified tax professionals who deal with the IRS directly to find a solution that saves you time, stress, and most importantly, money. They've negotiated thousands of successful cases that have saved clients millions of dollars, which is great because what hardworking American doesn't want to be free of debt and start moving forward? Plus, the IRS has brought back some pretty aggressive collection tactics. We're talking wage garnishments, bank levies, even going after your home, your car, retirement accounts. Priority Tax Relief can step in before it's too late. Listeners who owed $25,000, even $50,000, were able to get their debts reduced to a fraction of that. Some even had their debts fully erased. They act fast and they guide you through the entire process so you always know what's happening. So if you received collection letters and you're constantly worrying about your back tax debt, don't wait. Book your free consultation at prioritytaxrelief.com/Walsh. That's prioritytaxrelief.com/Walsh. Now, all that said, I do actually think that Trump is guilty of human rights violations, but not because he killed drug traffickers. That's not the real controversy about Donald Trump. Really, it's that he said this in Europe a couple of days ago. I don't know if you saw this clip, but here it is. Watch.
When you look at what has happened to football in the United States, again, soccer in the United States, we seem to never call it that because we have a little bit of a conflict with another thing that's called football. But when you think about it, shouldn't it really be called? I mean, this is football. There's no question about it. We have to come up with another name for the NFL stuff. Yeah. It really doesn't make sense when you think about it. It's really football.
Okay. Impeach him. Fine. Just impeach him. What are you doing, Mr. President? Why are you, you're telling these people that they get to take ownership of the name football? You're telling them that our football shouldn't be called football? Why are you doing that? What are you doing? This is the deepest betrayal. Because I'm someone who doesn't use extreme language. I don't do that. So I will only say this is the deepest betrayal that any American has ever committed in history. I never thought I would say this, but we need to denaturalize and deport Donald Trump. That's the only solution I can come up with. If you got a better solution, let me know. But I can't think of a better solution. So let me just say, for the record, football is our name. It's our sport. And we're not giving it up. Okay, I don't care. Oh, but the Europeans had the name football before we did. Okay, so we took it. It's ours now. This is America. I don't care if you had the name football for 1,000 years. We showed up and we said, yeah, that's ours now. We're going to use that for our thing. No, football is ours. You can't use it. Yeah. Well, shut up, nerd. How about that? And then we shove them into a locker. That's America. That's what we do. And I don't want to hear any arguments either about how football makes more sense as a name for soccer because you use your feet in soccer. First of all, again, this is America. I think it's great that we commandeered a name that doesn't even make the most sense. We looked at the most popular global sport and we said, oh yeah, we'll call it that. And that's great. I love it. The name doesn't make sense. Okay, well, no, you don't make sense. Okay, your face doesn't make sense, foreigner. How about that? We're calling our thing football. That's what we're doing. Deal with it. And also, by the way, you do use your feet in football. Okay, that's so people. There's this conversation around this now. People say, "Well, you don't even use your feet in football." Oh, you don't? Really? What? So what? Patrick Mahomes is out there, army crawling. What do you got? Saquon Barkley doing barrel rolls, flopping around on the ground like a fish? What do you mean? They use their feet. Every football player at every position for every play for the entirety of the football game uses their feet. Feet are like integral. Okay, try playing football with no feet. See how that works out. So what do you mean they don't use their feet? This would be. It's not like we took a chess or something and renamed it football. Something that you could do without feet and doesn't have a ball. Okay, we didn't do that. Maybe we should. Maybe just to prove a point. Here's what I think we should do. Take football Actually, yeah, take football, that name, away from American football, but give it to checkers. We're going to start calling checkers football just to piss you off. You don't need feet and there's no ball. And we're going to say, and then, okay, well, now we have American football. It doesn't have a name. You know what we're going to do? We're going to call that cricket now. That's what I would like to see happen. You named your sport after an insect anyway, so it's fair game. You're judging us for our sport names, and then you've got over in Europe, you've got cricket. You have a sport called cricket. What the hell is some sport called cricket where the games take 97 days to finish? Nobody knows the rules. No one does. They're just up there kind of winging it, playing cricket. They just play until everyone gets bored or dies of starvation. That's cricket, as far as I know. And they have the gall to judge us for our sports. Give me a break. So that's a big L for Trump there. Unfortunate. Our sponsor, Grand Canyon University, is an affordable private Christian university based in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. It's one of the largest universities in the country. GCU is widely praised for its culture of community and impact. They boast 369 academic programs, with over 300 of those being available online. Join a nationwide community of learners who are redefining online education through GCU's 100% online MBA program. At GCU, you can learn about ethical entrepreneurship and how to scale your business to serve your community. In addition to federal grants and aid, GCU's online students received nearly $161 million in institutional scholarships in 2024. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University, private Christian affordable. Visit gcu.edu/myoffer to see the scholarships that you may qualify for. Here's an unfortunate, though predictable update. People has this. Sydney Sweeney is addressing her highly publicized American Eagle denim ad in an emotional interview with People. Came under fire, of course, for this ad. We know about that. Sweeney tells People, I was honestly surprised by the reaction. I did it because I love the jeans and love the brand. I don't support the views some people chose to connect to the campaign. Many have assigned motives and labels to me that just aren't true. Sweeney tells People she's someone who leads with kindness and that she's addressing the campaign backlash to clarify her stance and dispel negativity. Anyone who knows me knows that I always try to bring people together. I'm against hate and divisiveness. In the past, my stance has been to never respond to negative or positive press, but recently I've come to realize that my silence regarding this issue has only widened the divide, not closed it. So I hope this new year brings more focus on what connects us instead of what divides us. So there it is. That's the backtrack. That's the walk back. That's the apology. Maybe not the full apology. That's like the lead up to the apology. That's the almost apology, the prologue to the apology. And it's a hint that, so this coming year, I'm going to bring people together. So that means she's going to do a whole bunch of woke nonsense over the next year. That's her plan. And so Sydney Sweeney is not the based right-winger that many right-wingers had hoped that she would be. What changed? Well, nothing changed, to be totally clear. Nothing has changed. People want to be accepted by their peers. Not excusing it at all, but that's what this is. Especially people in Hollywood, people in entertainment, they want to be adored and accepted and flattered by the people they respect, which are their fellow Hollywood elitists. Sydney Sweeney does not want to be admired or praised by people like you or me. She doesn't want our approval. Our approval just made it worse for her, actually. That's the last thing she wants. So, she could stick to her guns and earn the adulation of right-wing Neanderthals like me, or she could back down and break her silence and say the words they want her to say and all that and earn the praise of her fellow Hollywood degenerates. And she chose the latter, as they always do. As they always do. This is how it always ends. With these, and I'm kind of mad at myself because this was my instinct every time there's a celebrity who comes out and says something or does something vaguely conservative, and conservatives desperately cling on to this person, clinging on to their legs, just on the floor, praising them because we have someone in Hollywood who's indicated that maybe they don't completely hate us. And every time that happens, I've always been, as is my custom, the negative Nancy. I've always been the guy who says, yeah, this person's not really on our side. Just wait. They're going to, you wait and see. And that's always been my take. This was the one time where I sort of tried to be optimistic about it. This is the one time where I didn't do that. I said, okay, you know what? I'm not going to be that guy this time. Everyone is fawning over Sydney Sweeney. I'm not going to fawn over her, but I'll let them have their fun. I'm not going to be the guy who comes in and says, hey, by the way, she's definitely a leftist. Okay, she's going to break your heart. All right, she's going to turn around and apologize. It's going to happen. I'm telling you. And I didn't say that this time. This is the one time I didn't say it. This is the lesson I learned. The one time I decide to be somewhat optimistic, to not be totally negative all the time. The one time I decided. And she makes a fool of me too. So even though I never really bought it, I never bought the act, but you know, and that's it. And you know, the thing that was probably definitive for her is when she had that now iconic interview with GQ, and she gave her answer. The fact that she's getting a lot of flack from the people that she actually likes, but the fact that she was praised so much by people on the right, that is probably what scared her the most. And then she went out and she had this movie that came out, and I forget the name of it, but it was a flop. And then I'm guessing that she went and hired a new publicist, and that publicist came in and said, well, the reason why it flopped is because everyone was upset about the American Eagle ad, which is not true at all, by the way. It's got nothing to do with it. So she gets this publicist, and then she puts out this very publicist-like statement about breaking the silence and all that kind of stuff. And that's it. And that's the way it always goes. And that's why, you know, the only Hollywood actors and celebrities who ever fully become quote unquote right wing and just embrace it, and they start doing the Fox News hits and all that kind of stuff, the only ones who ever do that are the ones who've already washed out of Hollywood. Right? Maybe there might be a few exceptions, but almost all, I'll say almost always, the Hollywood celebrities who become fully out of the closet right-wingers are the ones who their career's over anyway, kind of fell apart, they washed out, they're past their prime. And then they figure, well, you know, I've already lost the praise of my peers because I'm not relevant anymore. And so I might as well go on Fox News and at least get praise that way. And so that's what they end up doing. But when you've got a celebrity who is still like in her prime, she's still on red carpets and still a big celebrity, those types are just not, there's yet to be one who's actually come out and said, hey, I'm a conservative and I'm proud of it. It just doesn't happen. Finally, Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey continues to pander to the Somalis in his city. And here he is at a Somali restaurant, hanging on for dear life while eating some third world slop. Watch. So he is disgusted. I mean, you could see the look of just total despair and panic as he tries to force that slop down his throat, doing the classic move, spreading the food around in the bowl, right? Trying to make it look like he's eating more than he has. And also he's buying time. He's chewing, he's doing a lot of chewing, and he's spreading the food around, and he's buying time as he's contemplating, trying to figure a way out of this situation. What's his excuse going to be for why he's not going to finish this? He's thinking about all the intestinal parasites that he's consuming. He's doing his best. You know, you can see him. He's doing his best. He's like, oh, wow, yeah. Yeah. What is this? What is this? What are you? Oh, yeah. Great. I've always wanted to try this. What is this? Is this horse testicles? Oh, it's horse testicles. Okay. Great. Well, thank you for feeding this to me. And what else is that? Is that intestines? Goat intestines. And the goat intestines, it tastes like you didn't clean them out totally. Oh, you didn't? Okay, yeah, because there's kind of a poop flavor to them. Very, very good. I couldn't eat another bite though. I'm stuffed. Actually, my wife is making horse testicles at home. I don't want to spoil my appetite. So he's doing his best. He's doing his best to get through it. I feel for the guy. I've been in this exact situation. It's on film. When we were doing What is a Woman with the tribe in Kenya, and they gave me it's a very similar situation. They gave me a raw goat kidney to eat straight out of the carcass. Slaughtered the goat right there, took the kidney out, still warm. I don't know if you've had warm meat it's not warm because it was cooked. It's warm because of the body heat of the animal that it came out of. Okay. It's a very different kind of warm, and just handed it to me to eat. And the thing is, I'm not normally a very polite person, and I don't always have a ton of respect for other cultures, I admit. So I would have probably said, no, I'm not going to eat that. No, thank you. But we hadn't filmed the scene. I mean, we had just got there, and we were going to do a whole day of filming, and we had this specific scene we wanted to get, where I talked to the tribe about, transgenderism. That's the whole reason we were there. And we hadn't gotten the scene yet. So I had to keep them on my side. I couldn't offend them. And so I had to play ball, and I ate the thing. And it was not as repulsive as I was expecting. So if you're going to eat an organ raw, I think kidney is probably the one to go with. Pretty mild. I wouldn't recommend it in general. But these are problems that we should not. That was in Africa. I was in Africa. These are not problems that we should have in America. And yet we do, thanks to guys like Jacob Frey, who has now had to literally taste his own medicine. And he's gotten the E. coli to show for it. And here's the thing. None of that will dampen his enthusiasm for importing Somalia into the United States. If he would be fine if he turned Minneapolis into a place where that's the only thing available to eat, even for breakfast. Think about that. In a place like Somalia, the stuff that he was eating, the slop bowl, that's bad enough at dinner. They eat that for breakfast. That's every meal. And Jacob Frey, if it's up to him, his whole city would just be that. The whole country would be. Which I guess means that on second thought, I don't really have a lot of sympathy for him, as it turns out. On that note, that will do it for the show today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Talk to you tomorrow. Have a great day. Godspeed.
All of this is an illusion, an echo of a voice that has died. And soon that echo will cease.
They say that Merlin is mad. They say he was a king in David, the son of a princess of lost Atlantis. They say the future and the past are known to him, that the fire and the wind tell him their secrets, that the magic of the hill folk and druids come forth at his easy command. They say he slew hundreds, do you hear? That the world burned and trembled at his wrath.
The Merlin died long before you and I were born.
Merlin Emrys has returned to the land of the living.
Vortigern is gone. Rome is gone. The Saxon is here.
Saxon Hengist has assembled the greatest war host ever seen in the Island of the Mighty. And before the summer is through, he means to take the throne. And he will have it. If we are too busy squabbling amongst ourselves to take up arms against him, here is your hope. A king will arise to hold all Britain in his hand. A high king who will be the wonder of the world.
You
to a future of peace.
There'll be no peace in these lands till we are all dust.
Men of the island of the mighty, you stand together. You stand as Britons. You stand as one.
Great darkness is falling upon this land. These brothers are our only hope to stand against it.
Not our only hope.
They say Merlin slew 70 men with his own hands. At Cathay, he slew 500.
No man is capable of such a thing.
The mortal man.